Hello, and welcome to YNWA Transfer News, your ultimate source for all Liverpool FC transfer news. Our first news is this. I heard what Arne Slot said before Community Shield, and I'm worried about Liverpool's title hopes. It barely feels that. Long ago that Virgil van Dijk was lifting the Premier League trophy at Anfield, and now we're just a few days away from Liverpool beginning the defense of its crown. A lot has happened since then, of course, and it almost felt like an entirely new team that lined up at Wembley on Sunday for the Community Shield. In reality, of course, there were just 4 new faces on the pitch against Crystal Palace, but it truly feels like we're entering a new era now under Arne Slot. And with any major changes, inevitably comes some teething problems. For all the encouraging signs going forward, Liverpool was noticeably shaky at the back. That's not the first time that's been apparent this summer. Having conceded 4 goals against AC Milan, 1 against Yokohama, and 2 against Athletic Club with what was close. To a strongest XI, clearly there are some kinks that need to be ironed out. You don't get much time to do that in modern football, though. No sooner have the Reds made their way back from Wembley than they'll be kicking off the new Premier League season against Bournemouth. And with less than 3 weeks to go now until the transfer window closes, time is running out if Slot and Richard Hughes want to add to their options. Van Dijk has made it clear to his bosses what he wants to see, a new forward, and there will likely be one name in mind for the Liverpool captain, even if he's not going to come out and say it. But, for all the speculation surrounding Alexander Isak, it seems fairly clear there is a more pressing priority for the Reds, a new centre-back. The possibility of signing a new defender was put to Slot by former Liverpool star Steve McManaman ahead of Sunday's game at Wembley as the pair spoke on TNT Sports, but the Dutchman is seemingly not too worried. "I think we have more than enough options that can play there," Slot said. "But as this club has always acted, if we see a chance in the market, we will not hesitate to take it." That is somewhat par for the course when it comes to Slot discussing transfers, but the first part of his answer is a little bit concerning. Yes, Liverpool does have options in its squad to play centre-back beyond Van Dijk, Ibrahima Konate, and Joe Gomez. Wataru Endo has done it before, and Ryan Gravenberch did briefly step into the back line last season. But are those really options a team challenging for the title should be taking? 5 years ago, the Reds were in a similar situation, with Van Dijk, Gomez, and Joel Matip the only senior center-backs in the squad following the 2020 title win. Of course, we all know what happened there, with all 3 missing such a large chunk of the season through injury that Jordan Henderson and Fabinho found themselves having to fill in at the heart of the defense. And before Nat Phillips and Rhys Williams came in to save the day, Liverpool's title hopes were long over. We're already set to start the new league campaign with Gomez injured again, and though he was available practically throughout last season, you certainly wouldn't want to be in a position where you need Konate to avoid picking up any injuries. Liverpool needs to sign a new centre-back before the end of the window, even if Slot thinks he has enough options already. You can understand why the club might be reticent about going after Mark Guehi now when he could be available for free next year, but if not him, then it needs to be someone else. History tells us going into a title defense with just 3 senior center-backs is a big risk, and Liverpool should not be making that mistake again. Second news. Alexander Isak agreement reached as Liverpool transfer target told, "It serves you right." The will he, won't he saga surrounding Alexander Isak and his move from Newcastle United to Liverpool for a potential British record transfer fee continues, with the Swedish striker still set on a move to Anfield. Unsurprisingly, many Newcastle fans are understandably irate following their star striker's summer protests in an effort to force his exit. Isach has been a revelation since joining the Magpies in 2022 from Real Sociedad, helping the club qualify for the Champions League twice, while emerging as one of world football's leading center forwards. But much his reputation on Tyneside has been tarnished after Isak failed to join the club on their pre-season tour before being ordered to train on his own. There are those who have taken a sympathetic view of Isak's situation and his actions, but most pundits appear to be in agreement over their judgment. As such, Mirror Sport has compiled the views of some of the most prominent mouthpieces as uncertainty surrounds Isak's future in the Northeast. Ollie McCoist against throwing the toys out, ally McCoist scored just 9 goals in 2 seasons at Sunderland, but he's siding with the Tyneside Giants when it comes to their handling of such a delicate matter. With 3 years left on Isak's contract, the Magpies are under no pressure to sell unless they receive an adequate offer. And McCoist believes the player is reaping only what he himself sowed after jumping the gun and segregating himself from his squad. "I think he's acted poorly," he told Mirror Sport. "Not all players, but some players, and people forget that if you sign a contract, you are clearly happy with the contract. You can't sign a contract with the intention of doing well, throwing the toys out and demanding a move. You can't do that. If you sign a contract, then you have to say, I'm here for 3 years, 4 years, and that I'm going to honor that contract. You sign it because you're happy with it. I think he's been poor. You can't behave like that." One set of supporters that won't let you away with it are Newcastle fans. It's hard to argue with them. Alan Pardew criticism. Alan Pardew was named Premier League Manager of the season after guiding Newcastle back to Europe in 2012. The journeyman spent 4 years at the club's helm and had to deal with his fair share of drama, some of which was brought upon himself. While others may be inclined to take the money on offer and get in a replacement for Isak, Pardew sees no need. And many will agree with his verdict that Newcastle hold all the cards when it comes to their frontman's fate, even if it means he's unhappy at St. James's Park for a time. The transfer to me looks like it can't be done because Newcastle are going to dig their heels in now, and I think they are angry, said former Magpies chief Pardew on TalkSport. I would also be if I was on the Newcastle board. I would dig my heels in so the fee could go really silly. The problem is, he's handled it so badly. He couldn't have handled it any worse. His agents and advisors have said to him to throw down the tools after serving that great football club, and he's doing really bad things to hold them to ransom and more or less force a way out. Third news. Mark Guehi transfer clause drama. Sudden U-turn from club. Silly offer. While talk of bolstering forward areas is dominating the headlines for Liverpool, a search for a center-half is also underway, and Crystal Palace's Mark Guehi is a target. The 25-year-old Eagles star captained his team to victory over Liverpool in the Community Shield on Sunday in what was a confident display. The England defender has now moved into the final year of his contract at Palace, and the London side face a dilemma of either selling their talisman this summer or risk losing him on a free next year, unless he signs a new contract. Guehi was the subject of interest from Newcastle last summer, with Palace turning down 3 bids, one of which was in the region of $70 million. Palace held firm in 2024, but the same cannot be promised this year. Speaking after the Community Shield, Palace chief Steve Parish conceded that Guehi could leave the club this summer, claiming that for players of Guehi's ability, leaving for fee is a problem. With Liverpool now considering a swoop for Guehi, and former club Chelsea also believed to be in the mix, we take a closer look at the transfer drama that has made Guehi one of the most in-demand defenders in the Premier League. Liverpool's position. The Echo previously reported Liverpool are interested in the defender, but club officials are ready to wait on the defender instead of paying a fee this summer, with Palace still looking for a figure in the region of $50 million. Speaking ahead of the Community Shield, Palace boss Oliver Glasner offered no further clarity on the defender's future. You have to ask Mark. At the end, it's always the player's decision, he said. Mark decides about his future, and of course everybody wants Mark to sign a new contract, but it will be his decision. A report from The Guardian claimed Guehi is not actively pursuing a move away from the Eagles as it stands, yet that he would choose Liverpool over Newcastle United should such a call have to be made. Silly offer. In January of this year, Chelsea were said to have lodged an offer derided. as silly to bring Guehi back to Stamford Bridge. The Blues sold Guehi to Palace in 2021 for 18 metres, but their package to take him back to West London wasn't even close to what the Eagles expected, according to reports. Chelsea were circling Guehi for 50 metres, but Palace were said to want in the region of 70 metres for their star man. A deal never materialized, with an insider claiming their Chelsea's offer was a long way off being a fair price. It was silly, really, and they need to offer more. Speaking of Guehi at the time, Chelsea boss Enzo Maresca said, "I like Mark for..." "Sure, but he is not our player." Now all eyes are on whether Chelsea will mount another attempt to bring Guehi back to where it all started for him. Chelsea U-turn and transfer clause. The Blues were keen to retain Guehi in 2021, but Palace's offer was too good to turn down, forcing them to pull a U-turn on their academy graduate. Chelsea also hoped to insert a buyback clause for Guehi. However, the clubs ultimately agreed on a matching rights option for the Blues, whereby they can get the chance to match any future offer for Guehi, along with a sell-on clause, rumored to be a hefty 20%. Guehi's Chelsea stance. Guehi spent 2 seasons out on loan at Swansea City prior to his Palace move, and he believed it steeled him for more minutes in the Premier League. The centre-half admitted in 2022 that he had no regrets at leaving Chelsea, as becoming a first-team regular was vital in his decision to move, something that could deter a switch to Liverpool with Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahima Konate, currently the favoured back two at Anfield. Game time for... "Any young player is the key," Guehi said. "Coming off the back of playing in the Championship on a regular basis, for any young player that is really important. Getting game time. The decision to leave Chelsea and come to Palace was the right one, to get that game time and show what I can do. Coming here didn't mean it was a given I was going to play. For my development, it was important to go somewhere permanent, play regularly, and feel at home somewhere." Thomas Tuchel has no regrets. Former Chelsea boss, now England manager, Tuchel had no remorse at letting Guehi go in 2021. "It's a fantastic development, and it's very hard to know if we kept him what would have happened," the German said after Guehi's maiden season with Palace. Maybe he needed a change, a different club, a bigger role, more minutes to develop his full potential. Chelsea's current stance on Guehi seems to suggest they are regretting their decision to part ways, but Tuchel believed it was the right course of action, adding, "I am happy with these decisions, and it was the right thing to do given the circumstances." Thank you for watching. Like and comment. Subscribe.